for the latest on the Jazz, Utes, Cougars, and Aggies? Yeah, we've got you covered. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G on 97.5, the Sports Zone.
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. You hear the music, you know it's time for Kurt Helin from NBC Sports and ProBasketballTalk.com. Kurt, how are you?
Kurt.
I'm doing good. I was having a better conversation with Lloyd, so if you can just put me back on hold, I'll go with no.
Hey, you know what?
We'll let you and Lloyd just take it away.
Yeah, no.
I appreciate that, Kurt.
You know, I'll be honest, our listeners send tweets and texts all the time and say, well, we enjoy Lloyd's conversation more anyway. So.
More Lloyd, less you guys.
Kurt, I don't know how much he paid you to say that, but it's not worth it. I'm just telling you.
It's not worth it. I don't know. Now, you guys haven't done what the new thing going around for those of us who have NBA, awards votes. You usually get. I got something from the Jazz promoting Isaiah Collier, and you get sometimes just emails, sometimes little packages and things. But apparently, the Wizards are sending out ice cream to try to get you to vote for their rookies. And I'm like, where's mine, man? I rarely ever ask for this stuff. I'm like, where's my ice cream, baby?
Hey.
If I got a house full of daughters and a wife, ice cream will really help me here.
Well, I mean, let's be honest here. It was, last time we talked to you in person, it was like 20 degrees outside of our building, and we were giving you ice cream, and you were more than happy to take it off our hands.
Yeah, exactly. There's never a bad time for ice cream.
Kurt, speaking of having some NBA votes, does last night's performance of Nikol Jokic, does it change maybe where your MVP vote goes?
I still haven't flipped the coin on that one. Having those signature moments absolutely helps and makes a point, and it's so tough because both have been so exceptional this year. And I know Tim Bontemps from ESPN had his straw poll, which came out that I'm not part of his straw poll, but I think it's generally pretty accurate, and it's a lean towards everybody I know is torn, and they're leaning one way or another. When I wrote a couple of weeks ago, I leaned towards Shea, but Jokic, that was a little right after he came back, and Jokic has been unbelievable since he came back, and was again last night. And if a guy's won 3 MVPs and now he's having his best season, it's really hard not to vote for him. So I don't quite know where I'm going to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a tough one for sure. But that game last night, Jokic and was just phenomenal. But in the end, Russ is going to Russ, and that's essentially what did in the Nuggets. The blown layup when Russ and look, Russ is a smart player. You pull it out there, right? Yeah.
You've got less than 10 seconds to go. Make them waste a couple seconds chasing you down to foul you. Make your free throws, and you're fine. And he blows the layup somehow, and that just becomes the mess going the other way. Then the foul in the corner was – there's been a couple of those this season where you're like, oh, dude, you're closing out on a game winner. You got to be careful, man.
I will tell you, though, when you have action like that between the T-Wolves and the Nuggets, that's what the NBA needs. And what is that, 6 straight now? Timberwolves beating the Nuggets?
Yes.
Bit of an axe to grind?
We were just saying, a few of us were talking, it was the Laker-Rockets game, and we were like, hey, this has a playoff feel, and we started talking about the West. If the playoffs started today, the Clippers are playing great basketball, and they're the 8th seed. They're 11 games over 500. They have a top 3 defense. They are a tough out, and I don't think they beat Oklahoma City in a series. But man, there's no easy series in the West in the first round. It is 8 versus 1. You're going to have to work for it.
Yeah, I know that the win-loss may not be competitive, but I would take 7 games of the Nuggets and the Timberwolves tomorrow. Give me all of that.
Yeah, well, that was a great series last year. This is a team that just seems to have their number, and yes, that would be a lot of fun. But then I said the same thing. Like I said, watching Lakers Rockets, yeah, I'll take that. I'll take 7 games of that was a really entertaining game, and so yeah, the last night was also a reminder with Denver. As great as Jokic is, they have to have Jamal Murray, and they have to have very good Jamal Murray if they're going to do anything.
Yeah.
We were talking with David Locke yesterday, and we were going back and forth on the 3 and the 4 seed. Is there any way that the Lakers can avoid the 4 seed? Because I think the Lakers are at least going to be in the Western Conference Finals, and David believes only if they can avoid the 4 seed. So what happens 3 and 4 seed?
Once again, David is right.
Let's just
don't tell him I said that.
Yeah, we won't. Trust me. No worries there.
We don't need to boost his ego. But
yeah,
it's going to be interesting in the final days if when it push comes to shove, a couple of teams consider falling back to 6 or pushing for 3, depending on their situation, to get on the other side of the bracket and avoid OKC for as long as possible, because the Lakers are a team that kind of matches up with them better than most, just because they've got size across the board. That is the Lakers. I was writing about this. They play small, quote unquote, because they don't have a traditional center out there, because their only center right now is really Jackson Hayes. So they play small, but small is Rui Hachimura and LeBron James and a bunch of 6'9", 6'10", mobile, athletic guys who are very physical. They're not small, and I think they match up better with OKC in some ways, but they still keep losing to them. I don't think they have their number, and I think the longer you can avoid OKC, the better.
So we're all in capture the flag mode. We're all about Cooper Flagg, especially watching him in the NCAA tournament. It's just been phenomenal to watch. But again, the Jazz can have the worst record, second worst record, third. They're still at 14%. That's 1 of 10 chance of getting Cooper Flagg. So in your mind, how much of a drop is it off of number 1 to where's the next tier, and how significant is that drop off?
It's not huge. I think the next 3 guys are potential all-stars, where I think Cooper Flagg is. And this is talking to scouts more than my untrained eye. Cooper's potential All-NBA, maybe potential top 5 player in the league someday. He could develop into that guy. When you get to Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper and Edgecombe, you're talking about future all-stars, and maybe they can make an All-NBA. But I don't think the drop-off is those guys can be absolutely part of whatever's next. Then the drop-off kind of starts at 5, and I'm saying drop-off, I think somebody between 5 and 15 is going to turn out, or 5 and 20 maybe, is going to turn out to be really, really good, and we just didn't see it coming. But no, there are just more flaws in everybody's game right there. So that's kind of where the drop-off is. If you're in the top 4, you get a guy who is part of whatever gets built in Utah, whatever it looks like 5 years from now. I think if you're in the top 4, you've got a cornerstone piece of that.
Who's the better number 1 right now, Paolo Banchero or Victor Wembanyama?
Right now, look, it's Victor. He's still, I think we've talked about this. He's would have won Defensive Player of the Year this year if he hadn't gotten hurt. He was starting to put up putting up numbers every game, and the analogy I keep using, he still looks like Neo in the first hour of The Matrix, where he just has it. He's still figuring out how to do everything he can do, and it's just he's got a great work ethic. So as great as Banchero is, and I don't want to knock him, because I think he has looked fantastic, and Orlando's back to playing really well with him as the primary creator. Wembanyama is just like, look, man, I should start booking hotel rooms in San Antonio for future finals. He's just going to have them there for years.
Why do we have to go back so far to find a number 1 overall pick that stayed with the team and won a championship? I think it goes back to Kyrie Irving. Is he? I was going to say, I'd have to think about that. I think, Scotty, was that who it was? Yeah. We were looking at that earlier, but I think it was Kyrie Irving.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. I think part of it is often like last year, nothing against Zachary Risacher, but like every year the number 1 pick isn't necessarily going to be a future franchise cornerstone guy. They don't always turn out. They usually turn out to be good, but not always great. The other part of that is, in general, you can get drafted onto some bad franchises. Like the teams that are there every year, Wizards. I don't want to name names, but there's teams that are there a lot. You're just drafted into a situation where the organization isn't going to build the team right. The owner's not going to spend enough. It's just you're put in a position where even if you are great, you can only lift them so far. So I think that ends up holding some guys back. And not every organization is built to win like that, or even sometimes the owner gets to the point where they're profitable and they don't care anymore. Like they don't. Yeah. If they're, I'm not gonna. Again, I don't want to name names, but there are ownership groups out there very happy to be profitable and not care that much about winning.
When you look at some of the talent across the NBA and where they were selected and where they were picked, there certainly is value where in that 5 to 15 range, and there's guys that you can pick up that can be special, but I got to imagine when you're the Jazz and you're looking at Cooper Flagg, if you snag him, if the lottery balls line up, that doesn't mean that you're out of the rebuild stage. I mean, you look at San Antonio, they're 2 years past Victor, and they're still not sniffing the playoffs. And, I had somebody within the Jazz organization tell me the other day, like, hey, look, we're just barely coming out of we're just barely midway through the first quarter of this rebuild. People think Cooper, and then we're done. We're ready to go. And that's not necessarily the case.
No, first off, even the best rookies only impact winning so much, right? Like you still have to learn the NBA game. You still have to round out your game and physically grow into your body. Like even I'm trying to think who were great rookies, but like LeBron and Wemby and all these guys had to grow into this stuff. The other part of it is you still haven't built the roster around them where you need to go. Part of the conversation with Lloyd you were not privy to was simply that. Like, I'm going when we talk next week. I will be in Portland for the Nike Hoop Summit with a bunch of the top kids coming in. High school seniors, boys and girls, coming into college next year, and you're going to be drafted. Look, you're going to be. Even if you get Cooper Flagg, you're not going to be great next year. Like it's still going to be you're a couple of years away. It gives you hope. It gives you things you can see growth-wise. But next year's draft might be deeper and better. I don't know about better than Flagg, but deeper at the top and very good, just like this one, even more so, even deeper. And if you're bad while you're rebuilding and you can see signs, but you struggle a little bit and you get a couple of those guys in a draft and you get a little bit lucky, then you're halfway there. Then suddenly you have the Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum foundation. I mean, those guys obviously worked out pretty well, but like you get a couple of guys in the draft and suddenly you've got the foundation for what you're trying to build.
Give me the closest comparable, Kevin Love or Kawhi Leonard?
For Flagg? More Kawhi, but he's I think more Kawhi, just because of the defense. Like Cooper Flagg's a really good defender, but a very different type of player than Kawhi developed into. Kawhi's he's not the shot blocker that Cooper Flagg is. He's not a rim protector in that sense. He's an elite perimeter defender, and Kawhi's game is so based on strength, and he is just. You can't stop him from getting to the position he wants to on the floor, then you can't stop him from scoring there. And by the way, he's playing like that. If you watched him the last few weeks, like he's back to looking like that Kawhi. Cooper strikes me as a little more fluid than that, and maybe a little more Kevin Love in his game than that, like peak Kevin Love, not current Kevin Love's fantastic on social media, but like Pete Kevin Love, the player, was also really good. So he's got I think stylistically he's a little more that, but I think the defense, I think he might be a little more Kawhi.
Is there somebody out there in the NCAA tournament that's really enhanced their stock? Derek Queen kind of comes to mind.
Yeah.
Is there other players that may have elevated their status based on what they've been able to do in the tournament?
Queen was the first guy who comes to mind, and then because I'm sitting here not in front of my computer, the BYU kid whose name escapes me.
Damon. Yegor.
Yeah, Yegor. Yeah, just getting them on a run, I think, and playing in those big moments helps his cause. Hey, that's one of those. Hey, again, you're looking out once you get past that first date, where Utah is looking like, man, I will draft the upside guy, right?
Yeah.
Especially with some of the swaps that are going to kick in, where Oklahoma City could have the number 7 pick through the 76ers, which would be hysterical on a intellectual level and probably not that much fun for Philly fans. But they could draft someone because they're going to start. There's a lot of teams that will be drafting in the top 10, looking in the lottery, looking for guys who can walk in and just play minutes. And I think that's where he comes in. He looks like a guy who can help you more now rather than I'm drafting this guy based on a development process where I think he's a couple years away. And sometimes that's the right move depending on where you are in the draft. Giannis Antetokounmpo was a couple years away. I think that worked out pretty well, but you've got to be in the right position to do it.
Kurt, last thing for me, the Dallas Mavericks are in the news for everything you don't want to be in the news for lately.
Exactly.
And it's just getting worse and worse. It's actually a couple-part question just to kind of wrap this up for me. Number one, you saw this whole interaction between the fan and Nikol Harrison, where the fan was yelling, "Nikol, fire Nikol," and somebody grabbed the phone and smashed it. Now he's claiming that he's being mistreated as a fan. I want to get your thoughts on just fan treatment, what you're hearing out of Dallas. And then I was listening to Mark Cuban say that he lost money as a Dallas Mavericks owner trying to keep tickets affordable. It just feels like everything that's coming out of Dallas Mavericks, anything, is just disturbing and disgusting.
I will start here. The losing money thing is always a little it's hard because the NBA books aren't open and we don't know. And the other part of that that's not counted in, if you can, you're not counting the franchise valuation in that, right? Like if you break even or lose a little money every year, but your product is growing in value by 10 or 15%, then you're not losing money per se. I think Cuban did okay with what he bought it for and what he sold it for. So,
yeah.
But yeah, it's that whole situation has been, and there's a line there where I don't know. I'm a little old school, like yelling "fire Nico" to Nico's face is a little over the top, a little rude, but it also wasn't. You didn't cuss at him. You didn't. There's stuff that crosses a line where you'll see players kind of like, "Hey, you can't go there, man. You leave my family out of this," type of thing. Where I think that at that point you've really crossed the line as a fan. But I don't know. The Mavericks have been it's like a new Coke, isn't it? Like if somebody's going to teach a class about like, hey, this is what you don't do. like everything they have done has just felt wrong in Dallas and angered the fans, and it's compounded a trade that nobody thinks is very good and made it feel that much worse just because mistake after mistake afterwards.
When you think of Val Kilmer, do you think of Iceman or Doc Holliday?
Jim Morrison.
Oh, the Doors. Good pull. Yeah, no, that's he was great in the Doors, but yeah, it's funny. Top Gun's a great movie, but he was a tour de force as Doc Holliday. Like he was just brilliant in that movie. Yeah. And he had a lot of movies where he was he's kind of a more independent, smaller films. He didn't just do the blockbusters where he had really great roles opposite people. And I have seen him around LA a few times because he used to be married to Exene Cervenka, the lead singer of the band X, for a long, or they at least dated and were together for a long time. So he'd be at their shows, and that's a band I went and saw a lot in my youth. Wow. So there we go. See, I knew with your Southern California ties that, look, you could map out one of those maps of the stars tour maps. So, I figured.
Yeah, you end up, if you just live out here, you end up, and I imagine this is true in New York and some other places, where you just, and you're at a bar, and hey, that's where Kiefer Sutherland hangs out sometimes, or whomever, right? Like just people that just kind of hang out, and you try to treat them normally and hope everyone else does.
Well, every now and then we'll pull up to a gas station and Donnie Marie or Marie will be there. So that's our brush with greatness out here.
Or Posty.
Actually, that'd be.
Posty does live out here.
Post Malone.
That's true. Yep.
Does he? Does he live in?
Mm-hmm.
He's up in Park City though. He doesn't mess around with us little people down here in the valley.
Still, he'd be. Let's put it this way: if I were next to Donnie at a gas pump, I'd be kind of like double taking. Like, I think I know him. I think Post Malone, I'd recognize. He stands out.
He kind of stands out in the crowd. There's for sure.
Yeah.
Kurt, you're the best, man. We appreciate it.
Take care.
There he is, Kurt Helin, NBC Sports, ProBasketballTalk.com, right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, right here on the Zone.
This is the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, here's the good.
It is the good, it is the bad, it is the ugly, right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Hans, let's start with the good. May have been the game of the NBA last night, although the ending was a little ugly.
Amazing game. It's what the NBA needs. They need rivalries. They need back and forth. They need heroes, big-time scoring, big-time games, and that's what you got from Nikol Jokic. 61 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists for only the third 60-point triple-double in NBA history. Now, this was double overtime.
Yeah.
So everybody's very clear. That's why this game was so incredible. Double overtime. He played a total of 52 minutes and 38 seconds. He did not leave the floor after halftime. So he went a full half and 2 overtimes. Nikol Jokic has a commitment to the game that's just incredible. And what I loved, I went and listened to Anthony Edwards talk about the game. And they were like, Anthony, big win, incredible ending, blah, blah, blah. And Anthony's like, I don't even care. He's like, what I just watched from Nikol Jokic. He's like, how's everybody not voting for him for MVP? He said, if this thing isn't tightening up, you guys are all crazy. He said, that's one of the most incredible things I've ever seen in my life. He goes, his game was so consistent. And that's Anthony Edwards.
Yeah.
Raving about Nikol Jokic. So you know that game was incredible. Now, he probably wouldn't have done that if they didn't pull it out at the end. But that game was a lightning rod. It was exactly what the NBA needs. 2 teams that really care, that really needed the win, especially Denver, because Denver's doing everything they can to hold on to that 3 seed. And they were just 1 point shy because of what Scotty just talked about. And it was a 2-part deal by Russell Westbrook. Number one, Westbrook has a breakaway, runaway opportunity at a layup, and he misses a layup with about 7 seconds left in the second overtime.
Yep. Had he pulled that back out, he could have got it down to about 4 seconds and gotten fouled. With the Nuggets up 1, you hit both free throws. Even if you go 1 of 2,
yep,
you still put them behind the 8 ball on trying to find a game-winning shot.
So they quickly get back in transition, and Westbrook hustles back to the other end to defend. Who did he end up fouling? Was it?
Oh, it's the 3-point shooter in the corner.
Was it DiVincenzo? No, who?
Crap. I don't know. The guy made the free throws and won the game.
No, DiVincenzo wasn't in that game, was he?
No. Gosh, dang it. I'm spacing it.
I know, I'm spacing it too. But Westbrook rotated out and fouled the shot and put the shooter at the line, and they won it at the line. And it's like Westbrook missing the layup or, missing the opportunity to back out or.
Oh, it was the Jazz man, Alexander Walker.
Oh, it was Alexander Walker.
Made the first 2, missed the third, and there you go.
And 1 by 1.
Yep.
I just can't stand Westbrook, dude. I can't even do it. I can't. I don't know how Denver even does it.
I don't either. And, and that's the thing. It's not because he's not hustling. No. It's not because there's not effort there.
He's just a liability.
He just does really dumb things sometimes. He's been in the league forever. You can't be doing stuff like that.
Make better choices there at the end, bud.
Geez, just where's that basketball IQ, man?
But
what?
Is that crazy?
Bro, what are you talking about, man? I'm out, man. I'm tripping.
Yeah. What is how high level is a 61, 10, and 10?
Oh, it's obscene. You just don't see that.
I can't even believe it. Nikol is a freak.
Here's the thing. Jokic rolls out of bed and almost gets a triple-double. It takes a 61-10-10 before you start to be like, oh, wow, he had himself a crazy game. The Jazz have gone since, 1978 since they've had a triple-double. Okay, I'm exaggerating slightly, but not much since the Jazz have had a triple-double. This dude rolls out of bed and gets one. And then he goes 61 points in a triple-double. It's just ridiculous.
Do you like Jay Williams?
Yeah.
Jay Williams sent out a tweet, and I actually saved the tweet. Just because, like, every once in a while I'll see something, I'm like, geez, you know what? That makes sense.
Yeah.
This is what Jay Williams tweeted. He said, here's the truth about Nikola Jokic. If LeBron or Steph dropped a 61, 10, and 10 in a game this time of year, we would shut down the internet. ESPN would talk about it for 2 days straight.
Yep.
But when Jokic does it, it's just another night. Why? Because he doesn't look the part. He's not flashy. He's not loud. But make no mistake, skill for skill, he's already outpacing Shaq, Hakeem, and Kareem. We're just afraid to say it. Jokic isn't just the best player in the world. He's quietly building one of the greatest legacies we've ever seen from an NBA player. And the media is still acting like his game's a fluke.
I know. And look, if he continues on this trajectory, he will go down as right there with MJ and right there with Kobe as one of the greatest players to ever play the game. I'm not going, he's number one. I don't want to get in that debate, but all I'm saying is that he deserves, right now with the trajectory he's on, that when that career comes to an end, we're talking about him as one of the best players to ever play the game of basketball. That's not outlandish with what he's doing right now and the pace that he's on.
How many championships, how many rings does he have to put on his fingers to be there?
Here, look, Carmelo Anthony just got the Hall of Fame. He never played in a finals, let alone didn't win one.
Yeah.
And so
Charles Barkley's on the desk as one of the greatest all time.
John and Carl, they didn't win one. I don't think you have to have a bunch of rings to be considered the best ever. Now, he's got one, so that already puts him ahead of the guys that we just mentioned. So, I mean, if he gets another couple, even just one more, and I think he's well on his way.
What are your thoughts on his supporting cast? Jamal Murray was out last night. By the way, there were guys off the court for Denver, but there were guys off the court for Minnesota. But
I think Kurt Helin said it right. Like, Jamal Murray's got to be on that court. Like, he's got to have somebody there else. I mean, the fact that they should have won that game without Murray says a lot of who Jokic is. And that's a lot of heavy lifting on his part. To play 53 minutes, not leave the court in the after halftime, I mean, it's insane.
In that championship run, Aaron Gordon was so good.
Yeah.
So Aaron Gordon's going to give you plenty of defense, and he can help you. Michael Porter was good.
Yeah.
And, they've got a nice, stable base with Jamal Murray, Michael Porter, Aaron Gordon, and Nikola Jokic. And then I don't know specifically how bad the bench is, but if you're using minutes off Russell Westbrook like you are, I think you're pretty desperate.
Yeah.
I just don't know a ton about Jalen Pickett. I don't know a ton about Peyton Watson. I don't. But I do know that those four, they're solid. But again, Nikola is doing more with less than LeBron's currently doing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, 100%. All right. I'm a little nervous about this story coming up for Whole World News.
You should be. Yeah, you should be.
I'll be relieved when it's over.
Yeah. Well, somebody is.
Hans and Scotty, Whole World News next, right here on The Zone.
go! It's time to span the globe for the hard-hitting news you care about. Well, not really. But hey, at least we found it interesting. This is Whole World News on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
We've got the whole world in our hands.
You got the whole world in our hands. We got the whole world in our hands. We got the whole.
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It is another edition of Whole World News, and Hans, I'm a little nervous about this one.
Well, this is essentially to highlight the mental illness that we've got going on in this country because it's rampant. It's gone bonkers. And
no pun intended.
A lot of it's centralized in Portland, Oregon. This is a story coming out of Portland, Oregon. Here's Alex Van Duyn and what's happening in his neighborhood.
Yeah, this is the bin.
This is a story that begins with a blue recycling bin. But trust me, it doesn't end there.
It is tragically gross.
And that may be putting it lightly.
So you're kind of like, okay, this is disgusting.
Alex Van Duyn spent years working in television news throughout the country. But he never imagined standing in front of the camera talking about...
You kind of know what the urine smells like.
Yes, urine. That's what this story is about. But before you turn away, understand that this could be you, living in a Northeast Portland neighborhood, minding your own business when he shows up in the middle of the night. This all started in September when Van Duyn and his wife noticed their garbage bins had not been collected.
So I went to open the blue bin, and lo and behold, there was a nice deposit of gallon-sized bottles of urine, to put it plainly. And there were 6 of them.
6 bottles of urine in his recycling bin. The garbage hauler wouldn't take it. It's biohazard.
So what does your wife think about all this?
Yeah, she's befuddled as well.
Eventually, Van Duyn pulled his garbage bins, hoping that the urine dropper would go away. And he did. Straight to the neighbor's bin, and then another neighbor.
It sort of started to, unravel. And I don't know why he's hitting the same location so many times. That doesn't make any sense to me. And or why he is doing it.
So who is this man driving a late model vehicle depositing bottles of urine? This grainy video shows him pulling up, getting out, and leaving the jugs behind. Van Duyn has shared his ordeal on the social app called Nextdoor. He's been flooded with theories as to the reason behind it all.
Somebody was like, maybe it's a ring that they've kidnapped some people and they're trying to get rid of their fecal matter, in the most bizarre way possible.
He has filed a police report. He says he was told that if the urine had gone in the regular garbage bin, it wouldn't be a crime. But because it's in the blue bin, it is. So now Van Duyn is on a mission to find out who this is. Getting his license plate will be crucial.
And I've actually, started putting my bins back out again the night before and putting him in a different position just to see if I could get a better video of him.
He doesn't plan to move, nothing like that. He loves the neighborhood, has lived here since 2006. But he does have a message.
Maybe he's watching, I don't know. Please stop. Please, just don't do it anymore.
It's a neighborhood that's just being bombarded with urine bombs.
Yeah, that's something right there. That's crazy.
I mean, we're not talking Jerome,
No.
We're not talking Emmett.
These aren't some young kids just playing a joke.
No. This is a grown man. And they got him on video multiple times in the neighborhood dropping off 6+ gallons.
All right, this dude's a news guy, man. He's got access to high-quality cameras. He's got to set something up here.
A sting.
Yeah, like you got to be out. Look, if you really want to be a news guy, you got to get out there and you got to have that camera hidden in the bushes with the high def so you can get that license plate.
Something.
Don't go crying to your coworkers like, oh, do a story about me. No, get to work.
Do you have any theories
Track
on
him
this?
down. Oh, no, none.
That's why this is just Looney Tune, right?
Yeah.
This is a mentally ill individual.
But apparently with good working kidneys, because, I mean, that's a ton of urine.
Yeah, that's a lot. Now, he made the mistake of putting it in a recycling bin. You don't do that.
Yeah, apparently that's the no-no. You can go in the regular garbage, but not in the recycling.
It's just and the images of him throwing these gallon jars of urine in the.
Are they like milk jugs or what are they?
They're Arrowhead water.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're Arrowhead water jugs. Just empty Arrowhead water jugs, and he's just filling them up and throwing them in the.
Wow.
People make no sense to me. If that was happening in my neighborhood, we're headhunting.
Well, I know you and Rock would be out there wearing your balaclavas and with your night vision goggles. I mean, you would go the extra mile to make sure you track this dude down.
We'd be hiding in the recycling bin. So when he opens it, we'd jump out.
Well, I don't know if I go that far. He may drop that thing pretty quick on you.
That's true.
I don't want any part of that action.
Don't want him to pull the lid and hit me with a urine bomb.
No. Nope. Right here on The Zone.